Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Outside Looking In. My name is Bruce Negro. We're talking about the issues that emanate from Montgomery County and beyond. How you doing today? I'm doing all right. It's Friday. Done with work. It's about 6:30 or so. I said, let's get the podcast going because it's been too long. I shouldn't have left you without a fresh show to step to. Just want to send a couple shout-outs. How about that? I feel like Mr. Magic on WBLS. But anyway, my first shout-out is I let the meters go a little bit longer because I realized I got one listener who only listens to this program because he doesn't want to turn off the meters. He's like, oh, give me 20 seconds of the meters and I'll listen to 30 minutes of babbling. So, Joe, thank you for that. Thank you for letting me know. And also, we had a couple other people write in or, just reach out. We had Dennis and Vin. They always reaching out, letting me know that, this program does reach some people. And what I'm saying, I don't feel as crazy as I normally do when I leave here. Because when you're talking in a box and alone, sometimes you're like, wow, I wonder what people think. And you're letting me know what you think, and I appreciate it. I really do. You can get in touch with us on the Outside Looking In page or via email at brucenice@yahoo.com, whatever you want to do. Because that's the program. It's called Outside Looking In. Join me. Let's bust down the door and get inside. Because I think we're going to have to get inside. I don't know what the hell is going on in the world today. I mean, it's strange, right? I was going to say, it's like, oh, what's going on in your world? Well, nothing different. It would go right out of COVID, right into, World War III. Not really, but this Russia situation and the Ukraine situation is really bad news. I don't see how it's going to end. I don't see the end game in this one. Putin's got to go all the way because he can't show embarrassment or, Russia. How does he get out of it? He doesn't get out of it is what the problem is. And I'll tell you, last night trying to shell nuclear reactors, what the are you thinking, man? I mean, really, everyone thought Trump was crazy. It's like, oh, but Putin. Oh, my God. It really is a scary situation. And those people in Ukraine, God bless them. Seriously. I mean, it's easy for me to sit behind a microphone. But when I see them, I get a tear in my eye. I really do. Because can you imagine just waking up one morning and having the Russians invade? You're starting to get shelled. It doesn't happen in America. There are very few of us who understand what 9/11 was about. They understand that we got attacked, but when you lived in Nebraska, it didn't matter. You didn't feel it. If you lived even in New York, it didn't matter. If you were downtown, it was like, holy shinogi. This is bad, bad news. But, if I remember walking home from 9/11 up in Central Park, people were still playing football. I'm like, hey, we just got attacked. Run for the hills. What are you kidding me? I'm not saying be scared, but what the hell next is coming? But people with such a disconnect. And this whole thing about the symbolism and the symbolic stuff. We stand with the Ukraine. We stand with Ukraine. It's like, I'm all for that. But the symbolic support is necessary, but is it enough? It's never enough. And these poor guys, the president, right? He's sitting there. The president of Ukraine is just sitting there. He's like, I need help. I need help. And everyone's like, yeah, we're with you, man. We're with you. I bought the T-shirt. I got the bumper sticker. I'm waving the flag. I'm with you. I mean, I don't know what you do. I really don't. I don't know what you do because this really is a provocation. It's World War I. It's not World War II. It's World War I, where everybody's going to get dragged in because of these alliances and all this kind of stuff. And the Ukraine, right? They're like, should we join NATO? And that's what they damn sure should have joined NATO. You know what I mean? It's. I mean, if they had the chance, I'm not talking on facts on that particular one, but Russia invaded. They invaded. I don't know, man. I mean, really, how the hell do we get out of this? How does anybody get out of it? Do we just sacrifice? And the worst part is, it's not like it's 1940 or 1918 because we can see it. It used to be in newsreels back in 1918. Oh, look at this. The Ukraine falling to Russia. You got, and then look at Babe Ruth. Circle the bases. It used to be like that. Now it's immediate. With Twitter and all the social media and all this kind of stuff. I mean, is war ever going to be war again? It's like war correspondence. What are you going to show me on NBC News that I'm not seeing all over Twitter or all over Facebook or whatever? It's totally different, and it's so immediate. It's just a different situation now. And I mean, again, how do we get out of it? It's we. How does Putin get out of it? How does the Ukraine get out of it? I keep saying the Ukraine. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, if you have the answers, give me a call. It's just one of those situations. It's mind-boggling because you try to talk to your kids, right? No, it'll all be all right. But will it be? How, once you start getting in and you sit in a dark room or sit in a undisclosed bunker and start doing a podcast, you start thinking about things. It's like, how is this going to be all right? And it does affect everybody. It better. It should. It's one of those world situations where you're sitting there and you got your hands tied because what can you really do without starting something much bigger? But I'll tell you, man, Putin, boy, did he miscalculate. And I'm telling you, with the other thing, too, this is what I don't understand. I know Russia, for what they started out doing, I mean, I was shocked and amazed. Maybe I'm one of these guys who falls to Russian propaganda thinking that they really are a superpower. And maybe they're not. Maybe they're not trained. But the one thing that you realize is you can't go into war and do a half-assed job. You have to go and do. You can't put in 5,000 troops and we're going to take over this. No, because these people are fighting to the death. Ukrainians are fighting to the death. I mean, seriously, what your social studies project now is to make a Molotov cocktail? It's just, I mean, people who can't even walk are signing up to defend their country. Oh, my God. I mean, it's disturbing is what it is. It's disturbing that we can't help. But again, what I was talking about the Russian military, they got a convoy that's 40 miles long. I don't know. I saw the Iraq war videos. Anytime there was a convoy moving anywhere, United States bombed the hell out of them. I mean, I know that Ukraine doesn't have Air Force, so the Russians are able to do this kind of stuff. But what's going on? I mean, and the other thing, and I'm going to turn this around for a second, all right? I'm going to turn this around for a second, and I'm going to talk about the United States. And what am I going to say about the United States is get down on your knees and thank God you live here. Because in Russia, the van comes around, you get thrown in the van, you're protesting this war, you're not going to be seen again. Oh, they'll let you out in 7 days. Yeah, okay. All right. They'll let you out in frickin' Siberia. Get really shanghaied if you protest in Russia. I mean, it's just not even funny. It's not even funny. The freedom's here. You can yell at the top of your lungs. You can throw Molotov cocktails at cops in New York City. And what do? You get a slap on the wrist. That's what happens. Over there, forget about it. You're on the front line. You might be on the front line, right? I don't know why I'm in the Ukraine. I was protesting in St. Petersburg the other day, and guess what? I got a one-way ticket here. Straight to the front, right? It's like Hogan's Heroes. You go to the front. That's exactly what it is there. Well, enough about Ukraine, enough about Russia, because I have a feeling it's going to be there for a long time. We're going to talk about some other things. I don't know what I wanted to talk about on this podcast. There was no burning issue, but I felt a need to get on the air to talk to you, my people, mi gente. Bunch of random things going around. Today I was listening. It's the end of February, right? The end of February jobs report. Everything was up. 700,000 jobs. Outstanding. Outstanding. Wonderful. And like trying to find out the reason for this. It's Joe Biden's economy. Come on. Really? I mean, how about that people have decided that COVID might be over, even though it's not over. In parts of this country, in their minds, it's over. It's done with. We're done. We're not going to do anything anymore. The conditioning in the COVID theater, I didn't believe this. I listened to Republican radio, the right-wing radio, and they're like, COVID theater, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and, just hammering home a point all the time where I get sick of it. And everyone's like, why do you listen to conservative radio? Because it's the only people talking. There are no Democratic stations. I haven't heard any, at least not on radio. It just doesn't sell on radio. It's not a good book. Can't get advertising for it. But anyway, I'm listening and they're talking about COVID theater. And what does that mean? People wearing masks, distancing, doing all this kind of stuff, and creating such drama that people don't know which way to turn or which way to think. And it was in full effect at the State of the Union the other night. I mean, did anybody see the irony in that? You got to get a PCR test to get in there, to get into the chamber, right? And no, the masks were optional. most people didn't wear masks. You could count like 10, 15 people had masks on, which is fine. You know, if you're fully COVIDed up, boosted and all of that kind of stuff. I hate that term. We'll talk about some things. I also hate some words and phrases. But if you're vaxxed and boosted, you know, like it's something special. It's what you're supposed to do. It's not something special. But anyway, if you're vaxxed and boosted, you don't need to wear a mask, and you got the PCR test, and you're COVID free. You can go in there. But still, what do? They put a seat in between everybody. Still, we have to social distance. Social distance? People are hugging the frickin' president. Hugging the president. Where's the social distancing in that? Stop. That's where the jobs report, why it's going up. It's because people are like, okay, we're getting back in the world because everything about this COVID stuff, they're starting to pull back a little bit, that we're going to have to deal with it, that we're going to have to live with it. You know, I say this each time, and I hate to be behind a microphone because I believe the science, all right? So don't come at me with that. But I also believe that if I'm boosted and vaxxed and all of this kind of stuff, that maybe I should take off the mask and walk into a store and not feel guilty. I mean, Montgomery County, right? And they just took down the mask mandates, which is good. But if you're not comfortable wearing a mask, or if you're not comfortable taking off your mask, I'll get that for a while because everybody's been conditioned. That's all it is. It's all about conditioning. And everybody doesn't understand that. People can be conditioned. Freedom, conditioning. You know, and I'll talk about masks. I talk about Rudy Giuliani conditioning people about moving to the side of subways. When the door opens, he put up a box and right in front of the door says, step aside. People got conditioned to move away from the front of the subways. People got conditioned not to drink sugary sodas or people got conditioned for calorie counts. Even though it's an attack on my freedom. I get it. I understand it. But people have been conditioned and you have to be careful with that. Because people yell and scream about freedom, but they're so willing to buy in to anything. And certain things make sense. Don't get me wrong. But they'll yell and scream seatbelt laws, right? I was 16 when the seatbelt law came in. So I had to do it. I never even thought about it. But my dad is like, I'm not going to wear a seatbelt. Oh, okay. And then he started wearing it. He's like, oh, I feel more protected. Good for him. And everybody felt more protected. There's some things that make sense. There is common sense in this world. You just got to find it. And you got to pay attention to it. But this COVID stuff, I mean, what's happening is that people feel like there's no more COVID, that the weather's starting to change in the South and out West. In Maryland, it's still cool and cold. But once it changes a little bit, people are going to go back out. And I could see it in my job because people were talking about conferences. People were talking about tourism. People were talking about that kind of stuff. And that's where the economy picks up. Once you can clamp down on COVID a little bit and start living with it instead of being afraid of it, then that's where the difference comes in. So this jobs report comes out. New jobs. Joe Biden's wonderful now. Wait till next week. Wait till a month. This job report is the most fickle thing I've ever seen. 1 week it's fantastic. Or 1 month it's fantastic. Next week it sucks. Everybody sucks. And then to think about this too, about the State of the Union, right? When did the State of the Union become a workout? That's what I wanted to know. When did it become a workout? Because Kamala Harris and Pelosi, boy, they couldn't wait to stand up. I thought they were doing calisthenics back there. Jack LaLanne must have been given the State of the Union. 1, 2, 3. And Pelosi, boy, I mean, was something in that speech that she kept turning over, said stand here, maybe applaud here, whatever. I mean, she looked like Heath Ledger as the Joker back there. She's like, Batman, Yeah, it's cheap shots. Absolutely cheap shots I'm taking about someone's appearance or how they acted. But come on, where's the decorum? And I'll turn it around. I always say, I'm in the middle. Mr. Negrin, you're in the middle. Well, let me turn it in the middle on this one. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Bobbitt there from Colorado. Who the hell sat them together? You had assigned seats in the Senate, in the chamber. You had assigned seats. And how did those two get together? Who was heckling? Oh, of course it was them. I mean, I said, put this on Facebook the other day because I have a very good friend. His name is Mark. And the two teachers knew that if we were together, it was over. There was going to be jokes and laughter, and we're going to try to steal the show, do whatever we got to do. I mean, not yell out and scream and heckle, but we were going to try to steal the show. So they never, in any assembly or any class, on the permanent file, they say, do not put Bruce Negrin and Mark Giordano together. Do not do it. I know for a fact because I saw it in the file. And yes, they do have permanent files. At least in high school, my guidance counselor lived down the block from me, so she gave me the file. They had pictures of me from kindergarten in there. They kept clipping pictures and putting them in there. What the hell is this? A dossier. Chris Steele found this one on me. Bruce Degrin, he once did spitballs in 12th grade. Do not let him sit next to Mark Giordano. If he does, it's a scandal. But anyway, they wouldn't put us together because they knew. The teachers are smarter than the Senate. Sergeant at Arms? Come on. Right? Your damn thing got broken into. Maybe you could be a little bit smarter about who you seat next to each other. I mean, what did you expect? What did you expect? I mean, decorum and civility. How many times have we talked about that? Go back, go into these things. When I send out the show to you, go back into the history of the show and listen. Listen to the archives because you'll understand the running themes. And civility is one of them because it's done and gone. Boo, 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 boo. Gone. Done. See ya. Bye-bye. That's what I wanted to say before. I couldn't get it out of my mouth. See ya. Bye-bye. But so these two were yelling. And you know what it reminded me of? I went to a high school basketball game the other day. Wanted to see, my niece plays girls basketball, so we would watch in her games via internet up in New York. So we see what do they have down here at Quince Orchard High School. That's right, I named it. So we went. Girls team was good. Boys team starts playing. Everybody packs in. The kids haven't been together. I guess it's the first time they've been together since football season. So all the students and stuff, and it was a race to the bottom. You know, I just didn't understand it. It was one of these things. Everyone was crude instead of clever. Crude instead of clever. When did this become the norm, the standard? I mean, someone behind us, right? My dad's 90 years old, and we're sitting in the front row because that's where the security guard told us to sit. You've got to sit on the Quince Orchard side. Not where there's room, but you have to sit on the Quince Orchard side. You know, we got to wonder about violence and protect. Like we're going to jump up and down for Quince Orchard. Yeah. Like the students do. But anyway, this girl's got her knees in my dad's back. And, you know, I understand when things are close and like bumping into somebody on the subway or somewhere, right? You kick a chair in the movie theater. Oh, I'm sorry. All right, that's all you got to say. I understand that this girl's knees are probably going to go into his back. But, I mean, constantly, without even remorse, without even saying, sorry, sir. You know, I mean, I don't get that. And then there's another schmuck behind me. He goes, hey, number 3, F you. And he says the full word. It was a woman. It was a girl, by the way. A girl. Hey, number 3 from the other team. F you. The full phrase. And you know what the funny part was? The principal walked by once she said it. And the principal just turns and stops. Should have thrown the girl out of the game. But she goes, really? That's the best you got? And I was like, amen. That's the best you have? You know, everybody looks back and harkens back to their childhood. Oh, mine was so much better. Everybody was, you know, we had the rude guys too. But at least with my group and my crew and the people who had civility, at least, they tried to be clever. You know, yeah, we tried to put down everybody we could. You came into our gym. It's our gym. We're tough guys. We're going to, you know. But we just didn't flat out, curse at people. Because back in the day, you cursed at somebody, you got thrown out. Now it's all right. The principal could walk by and it's no big deal. You just get a look. Really? Really? Ooh. And everyone's like, yeah, the Principal Thomas, yeah, she yelled at you, yo, firehead. But it's a race to the bottom. It's a race downhill. You know, I mean, people talk about that, and it's true. And it's like, oh, in my day. I'm sorry, man. In my day, I had to be spitting mad to start cursing at somebody. I really did. I mean, maybe I also use curses as adjectives and nouns. Everyone in New York did too. So, and when I went to college at Vanderbilt, everyone realized it's like they started imitating me. Everyone's like, you're going to come home with a Southern accent, Bruce. And I'm like, yeah, maybe. I didn't get an accent. My accent sort of leveled out. And everybody who was a Southern friend of mine went home saying, started cursing. They all started sounding like me. I'm sure their parents were happy. Who's this Bruce fella? Who is that Bruce fella? Bring him to my house. I'm going to teach him some manners. Oh, I could just laugh. Because when I went for the first time, they never had met a Northerner, so it seemed. I went down there, at least not someone from New York City or the New York City area. I went in there and I had to try. I went on like the Grits tour of 1986. because we went down to Mardi Gras and then we went to a bunch of other families and their houses, and they just wanted to meet everybody's friends, etc. So that was spring break. So we would go, and everybody's like, "Did you try grits yet, Bruce?" "Yes, I have, ma'am. I don't like them." "Okay, well, you haven't had my grits." Oh. So that Cousin Vinny thing makes me laugh all the time. I'm like, yeah, I have had grits. I don't want grits. No, thank you for grits. And then the best part, and this guy's still a good friend, so I could say it, but they were into sugar, right? They had a lot of sugar in their house in terms because they had a sugar plant. They had a sugar refinery. So we didn't have syrup. We had like molasses. And it was like back in the day, it was molasses in this big can, like it was mobile synthetic oil. So they had to take the thing and clunk, put it in. You remember how you used to have to punch the cans and put it into the oil? How old am I? I was filling up a Model T back in 87. But anyway, it was molasses. It came out on the pancakes or on the waffle or whatever, and it was so thick. So I started taking molasses and putting it in a cup and mixing it with milk so I could pour it on my waffle and enjoy it. It's like, how was that waffle with the molasses? Wonderful. Thank you. How are my grits? Your grits were the best. Love your grits. I learned. Because I was smart enough. You know what? I was smart enough to play the game. Your grits are the best. Much better than 3 states over. Oh, I have to laugh. I'm sorry. I do have to laugh. But that's the funny part. It's really funny. But we're talking about, it's talking about people being conditioned, right? The funny part about conditioning is Montgomery County right now is proposing a healthy kids meal law. That they must have a healthy option on the menu for the kids menu. No, I don't disagree with that. I do agree with that. How about that? How about it? You know, how many kids, and this is the problem with kids because all they do is eat chicken fingers and frankfurters and this kind of nonsense that they put on the damn mac and cheese, and they never grow up because the parents keep ordering this damn stuff and they don't give them the food that they should try, and because the parents don't have patience to sit down and make sure that they eat the food, stay up till 12 o'clock, you will finish your spinach and if you don't, you're not going to bed. That's what happened in my house. I like spinach. It was a battle, but I like it. Plus Popeye ate it. But anyway, proposing a healthy kids meal law. It's a bit of an overreach. But, you know, the sugary soda, as I was talking before, that was an overreach. But do you really need a big gulp of Coca-Cola? Not even Diet Coke, of Coca-Cola or Fanta or something to that effect. You know, when you talk about spoonfuls of sugar, that's bad news. And also, like the calorie counts, right? Oh, tell me you haven't stopped. When you saw a calorie count on something, tell me there hasn't been one time in your life you haven't said, I'm not going to get that. So I'm all for it. I agree with it. But this is the thing that's the kicker. It's always the kicker. They always got to take it one step more. They said there has to be options instead of soda to drink. So there has to be milk or sparkling water or something like that. But milk, right? Just milk. You just can't have milk. It has to be either skim or 1%. Whoa. Really? Really? I mean, the kid's going to get fat on a glass of milk? My wife had a friend of hers who was really into health, and he was bodybuilding the whole thing. And the guy goes, nobody ever got fat eating fruit. You know, it's just like, it's got to be 1% milk or skim milk. You got to be kidding me. Just have milk available. What kid is ordering milk anyway? My kids do. All they do is drink milk and water. I have an orange juice once in a while. And they're like, no. You know, I don't want them to drink soda or anything of that sort. But really, you talk about overreach? That's an overreach. Eesh. Oof. Let's go to the next topic as we're just running them down. This is everyone's favorite topic, right? Because this is one of my favorites. Words and phrases that I detest, hate, detest, hate. I wish I could have a thesaurus in front of me so I could find a stronger word. The first phrase is meh, M-E-H. I don't know where this one came from. I don't know how it came from. Maybe I've been pronouncing it wrong my whole life, but I was like, what do you think about Mine was not meh. And you know what? Meh. It's such a lazy thing. It's meh. So how is it bad? How is it bland? How is it that way? No, it's just meh. What's your explanation? Meh. Shut up. The other thing that came out, and it's starting to get used way, way too much. I totally understand the phrase, and I understand its meaning, but it's getting used way, way too much. It's called word salad. You know, when someone talks and just puts in all these big words and you can't understand it, and it's fluff. It's all salad, right? You're just mixing it up, not giving a real answer. I know a ton of people like that. To me, that's when they talk in circles. You know, people write in circles where you start at the top of the paragraph and you finish and you have to go right back up to the top because you have no idea what the hell they said. But word salad. Okay, so let's use this. Word salad, word salad. Ugh, can we overuse something so quickly? And then my brother sent me something. You know how I feel about icon, the word icon. Overused, used too much. That's the same thing. I just said it twice. What are you going to do about it? But he sent me an ad of a building in New York City that said, understand the iconicity of this building. Or define the iconicity. What? If you're just going to take the English language and bastardize it, you know, let's just go to LOL because I understand that. It's whatever happened. It's like rules don't matter anymore. And that's the problem. Rules don't matter. And while we're at it, let's talk about a practice that people use as well. You know, let's add one more. So here's the question. The more you say the word, a word, is that the more you mean it? Because the other day, a hostage was taken by the Taliban, and some guy from the UN force who's trying to do good in Afghanistan is like, it might have been the U.S. I don't know who it was, but it was on NPR, so I stopped listening. You know, after a while, it's just like, okay, can you depress me anymore? But anyway, the guy said he was deeply, deeply, deeply concerned about a hostage taken by the Taliban. Deeply, deeply, deeply concerned. He's more deeply concerned than you or I because he said it 3 times. He said it 3 times, so he's really sincere. How old are you? 5-year-olds do this. 5-year-olds use the word super before everything. It was super exciting. It was super incredible. It was super hard. Speaking about 5-year-olds, there's a guy in Texas who's a 5-year-old, or so I think. He's not really, but Beto O'Rourke, right? Beto O'Rourke. This guy ran for the 2018 Senate in Texas. He lost. He decided, okay, I lost to Ted Cruz, but it was a close race, so what am I going to do? I'm going to run for president in 2020. He lost. So what is he doing now? Now he's running for governor of Texas. What does that say to you? That says to me, a guy who just wants to be elected. Is that really a politician you want? I will take any office. I will go from Senate to president to governor just to rule you, just to be elected to office. You know what? Disingenuous. See ya. Bye-bye. Another one. See ya. Bye-bye. Get out of here. It's like you can't do that. I mean, how do you run for governor and think that, or president, and then think, you know, it's going to be good for governor of Texas? Senate, I lose. You're a loser. Get out of here. Go talk to Hillary Clinton. Go up to Chappaqua. Have a summit meeting. Go there. Figure out what else. At least she won some elections. She only lost president. You've lost 3. You're going to lose this one too. No one wants you. And it's just because people see through this. They see through this. Career politician. He's not a career politician. He's a career candidate. I don't care what he has to say, and I don't care how close it was. People have windows. If you didn't win that close Senate race against Ted Cruz, you're not winning now. Your message hasn't changed. As a matter of fact, the world's changed over your message. You've been overshadowed. It's like a sports team. Just because they got to the finals doesn't mean they're getting there next year. Just because it was a close game doesn't mean they're getting there next year. Things change. But this guy, Beto O'Rourke, he doesn't care. He rolls up his sleeves, looks young, looks like the mayor of New Rochelle, looks like Noam Bramson. So he's deciding he's going to run again. I hate that. I ran for political office in New Rochelle because I was part of New Rochelle. I grew up there. I knew what the hell was going on. I was watching the damn city council meetings. I said, I might as well do this because I had a deep passion, a deep love, etc., and so forth, blah, blah, blah. But I came down here. I'm in Montgomery County in a place that's so damn large, I don't even know who to talk to get a stop sign around here. I've never even seen the person who's my council person. Nobody's ever knocked on the door, and I can understand it because it's too big. It's too big. So this is the thing that in Montgomery County they said before about districts. Shouldn't have districts. We've got to have a lot more at large. Instead of expanding the city count or the county council, they said let's take the at large and just cut it up into districts, which would have been fine because I have no mayor. I'm in unincorporated North Potomac. I got to rely on Gaithersburg for all my services, and I don't even get services. I don't get any trash. I don't get anything. I might as well live in the country. It's because that's exactly what it is. I guess 25 years ago, 30 years ago, this was the country. And so that's what I'm doing. I mean, I'm paying for trash, paying for this, paying for that. Thank God. People hate homeowners associations, so I'm sort of happy I got one. And what's funny about it is my trash on a private carting company was less than a city tax that New Rochelle charged me. Pay what, $200 here for that kind of stuff and some snow removal or whatever? Up in New York, I was paying $400 extra tax for city services. But we kept the tax ceiling low because you circumvented it. I mean, when you pull the trash tax out and city services and put it over here and make it a separate tax, of course it's going to pull it down. I mean, my kids even know that. And since we're jumping around, State of the Union, I was all for everything Joe Biden was saying, but I just can't figure out how we're going to pay for any of it. The only thing he didn't say was that we're going to put a chicken in every pot. And to go from defunding the police to funding the police and saying it 4 or 5 times, all right, how did Clinton win? How did Clinton turn his presidency around? By moving to the middle. That's right. That's right. That's right. I was reading a Washington Post article the other day. They had 4 sources in this article to corroborate the same thing. And guess what? Every source was anonymous. You could go, it's a shock now. Is it a shock to you or to anybody that someone's making stuff up? 4 anonymous sources so they could speak about the matter. I don't want anonymous sources anymore. I don't. Not 4 of them. 1 is enough. I mean, really, I could write an article. How is that journalism? If you can't get someone to speak on the record, then it's just hearsay. Oh, but it's not hearsay. It's real. I'll speak off the record. They can say whatever they want off the record. If you're not going to name them, it's chicken. It's a chicken way to write an article in journalism. So just let's throw journalism out. Let's bring journalism back to 84. Another one. My son says, oh, Dad, you're going to be a bad grandfather because you're going to hate everything. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I'm going to be like the grandfather on The Simpsons. Homer. Back in my day, Mike Piazza was the best player ever. Anonymous sources. Maybe we should get anonymous sources for sporting events. Can you believe the money Troy Aikman or Tony Romo was making for announcing a game? Something that somebody would give their left arm to do for $100,000, $300,000. They're going to get millions of dollars. Tony Romo's bubble has burst. I don't know if, he was calling plays before. He was the darling. Now he just won't shut up. And he's making up scenarios and doing all this kind of stuff. And Troy Aikman, don't tell me he doesn't root for the Cowboys. He's a full-fledged Cowboy fan. Oh, those people in that locker room, they're just a great team. He's playing the Giants and saying this. And then Joe Bucko, whatever Troy Aikman says, just give me Iron Eagle, Kurt Gowdy, right? Can you imagine the guys from the yesteryear? All right, yeah, the old man speaking again. The guys from yesteryear, rumbled and fumbled and stumbled and Keith Jackson. Alabama touchdown. Alabama, right? That's how everybody says Alabama because they're like, Alabama from Keith Jackson. And Kurt Gowdy at Memorial Stadium calling Burt Jones, throwing touchdowns to, I can't even think it was on Burt Jones's team. All I know is Burt Jones. But I mean, why do they get their money? Does anybody really tune in? I think John Madden might have been the only one because he just took it so differently with that telestrator and boom, bam. And he was a coach and he was a great coach and he was a winner. And that's now you understood why people wanted to play for him. All right, let me close on this. Program's called Outside Looking In. My name is Bruce Degern. We do this every week or every 2 weeks or so. Whenever I feel like getting behind a microphone and wasting 35 minutes of your time. You can reach us on Facebook, Outside Looking In. You can reach us at brucenice@yahoo.com. Call in, write in. Talk to me, man. Talk to me. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? But anyway, I want to talk about Mike Bloomberg because I'm a big nerd. I read histories of mayors of New York City. I've read about Lindsay, about Abe Beame. I'm reading Mike Bloomberg's. I've read about Giuliani. But Mike Bloomberg, right, ran for president. I still have a T-shirt of his because I was all in if he was going to try to be president. I was all in. I went to the campaign headquarters. I got the signs. I got the T-shirts, the buttons. You know, now it's going to be like Adlai Stevenson. I'll hold on to it and give it to the Smithsonian in a couple of years. But anyway, Mike Bloomberg said something in this book that I was reading about when he was running for mayor of New York City. He's like, crime is a tax on everyone. You know, and that's what people don't understand. That's what these DAs who refuse to convict or refuse to prosecute crime, it's crime as a tax on everyone because it's taken away from the neighborhoods. It's taken away from the small businesses that get ransacked because, oh, I'm under $1,000. You can't prosecute me. So I'm going to do it every day till someone decides to stop me. You know, it takes down neighborhoods and it hurts the people who shouldn't be hurt. Crime, especially crime like that. And then people start moving out. He's saying, you know, people will move to the suburbs. New York City saw it. I mean, let alone COVID. They were like, I don't want to be there. Let me move to Maryland. Who would do that? But anyway, you pay for the privilege of living in New York City, and you used to pay for it because it used to be safe. It used to be something. But all of these people now, it's like, oh, it's in non-proportionate amounts of people of color going to jail. Yeah, unfortunately, yes. All this social statistics, socioeconomic, all of this kind of stuff, I get it. But people are doing crime as a living now. It's a living. It's not to support the family. It's a living. But here's the thing that I want to leave you with. Even with stricter policing policies, New York City under Mike Bloomberg had less jail sentences handed out than any other time in the city's history. They cracked down on crime. They cracked down on it. They had stop and frisk violations of civil rights, probably. But they cracked down on crime, broken windows theory, all of this kind of stuff. Anything that you can think of that worked had been done and reinforced. And they had less jail sentences handed out at a savings of over $1.5 billion to the city of New York because they didn't have to feed people at Rikers. Think about that. So think about that crime is a tax. So think about that when you're voting for your liberal DA who says, I'm not going to prosecute shoplifting. Think about that. Think about New York City and its heyday because it's going to take a long time for it to get back. And think about less jail sentences, even though policing was even more to the bone, more on the street, was more strict. Think about that. My name is Bruce Degern. The program's called Outside Looking In. I want to thank you for listening and have a great week. I'll talk to you soon. That's right. If you're still listening, think about that.